Good morning, folks. Welcome to the Morning Call Show. I'm here once again with my esteemed colleague, Jerry Burke, who has been an executive producer at places like CNBC and Fox. And of course, I worked with Jerry at Fox and elsewhere, let's just say. And also, I was an anchor at CNBC and at Fox, wrote a book for Forbes on business. So, Jerry, let's follow up from yesterday. You and I did a critique of an interview over the weekend with RFK Jr. that was conducted by CNN's Dana Bash. And there's some people bashing you specifically and us generally for criticizing it, which we both did.
I was really surprised at the reaction that I got because, RFK comes from a long line of Kennedys, Democrats. Like, if you open up the dictionary under Democrat, it would have a picture of a Kennedy, I thought. Not anymore. Here, let me read you a sample, and then you can share your own thoughts.
Sure.
So here it is. They took a frame shot of us, me and you together. There we are. And the comments, get this. This is from a Kennedy, an old school Kennedy. Only old boomer white men are still impressed by the Kennedys.
Okay.
Well, I could take that I'm a boomer, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Kennedy's getting dragged.
Well, you've been to the Kennedy compound and you are Irish.
Twice.
And I would argue that you do have an affinity for any Kennedy.
I do. I really do. I mean, I told you about the Trinity on the wall in our house. We had Jesus Christ, Martin Luther King Jr., and we had John F. Kennedy.
Okay.
And we aspired. They were lace curtain Irish. Yeah. We were still barely shanty off the boat. But it told us that, hey, look at them. In one generation, they're in the White House,
Yeah. I guess the problem I had with the interview was how CNN conducted it. As we said, there weren't call fors. There weren't, look at this. This is a chart showing how many cases of measles. This is what you said about it. This is the policy. There was nothing to clearly lay out arguments against him. And then they brought on somebody, Jerry, later on to take issue with the things that RFK Jr. had said. I feel like ideally that's done in real time, especially if you've decided to challenge. And again, this is a funny thing, is if I in one podcast, I will criticize Trump and I'll criticize Kamala. I'll criticize the right and the left. Yet if you go online, you'll see he's MAGA or he's a liberal, a weak-kneed beta male. You get all of that just because you think for yourself. And I, in that particular interview, felt they didn't do a good job. And they're not alone. There are a lot of people that aren't. But what did get my attention is more people in the media are trying to challenge members of the Trump administration. That's kind of
Well, I was struck by the fact one of the comments said, you know what? This is typical. They should have gotten an expert to pepper Kennedy with questions. And I'm like,
well, that's what the journalists
doing. Dana Bash sitting there with piles of information, rifling through them, by the way, live on the air. That's when I knew she was done. But and also, here, this one of my favorite. How weird. Old white men getting their feelings hurt.
How were our feelings hurt? I'm not sure about that.
My feelings don't get hurt. I enjoy hurting people's feelings. Wakes them up a little bit.
It's pretty hard to hurt an old boomer feelings. We've kind of been through a lot. I don't know if you heard the Vietnam thing. And, the civil rights movement and all this. I don't know if you've heard anything about that.
But doesn't it?
And by the way, this thing that you're probably using, created by a boomer. So,
But what does that tell you about the rift in the Democrats, where the Kennedys are now outcast and they're embracing?
Well, yes. But what was interesting, I remember interviewing RFK Jr., who is very likable personally, as you know.
Yeah, and, like Vivek.
Yes. And he said, and this was before he gave up his effort for the Democratic nomination, which he ran as a Democrat, right? And he said, look, Biden can't win. He listed all these people. They can't win. I'm the only one that attracts conservative voters. I'm the only one that attracts possible Trump voters. I'm the only one that attracts people in the middle, the independents. And I don't think he was wrong about that.
No, I don't either.
And so I felt like if they had actually nominated him, as much as a lot of the Kennedy family didn't like him, he would have been an interesting candidate.
Well, I think they should consider him.
But they're not going to. They're not going to, because this party, this Democratic Party, Jerry, is nothing like the Kennedy Democratic Party from JFK's era. By the way, somebody who cut taxes back then. So, I mean, this is the problem. If I had to sum it up, somebody that people can relate to, a pro-business Democrat.
Right, and that's what Kennedy was. You know, he helped U.S. Steel, remember?
Yeah. So I think they have lots of problems. And actually, I don't mind the criticism from people. I think it's kind of funny. It shows how people have to label you. And if you think for yourself, Jerry, you get yourself in trouble. But I do think a lot of people think like we do. I'm not saying on Kennedy per se, but I think on a lot of issues, they don't like what Trump's doing. They don't think the left is a solution either. And I think that's one of the problems our country has.
Yeah. And, you know, today is primary day, Tuesday, in several important states, including Michigan.
Yes.
And here's a Colorado House candidate where she just openly admits that she welcomes communists to the party. Like, she said the word communist.
You know, I think that's a problem on both sides. It's like Trump got criticism for saying, you know, there are good people on both sides. And that was when you saw these people down in Charlottesville, which kind of hurt me because I went to UVA. And there were white supremacists. And the criticism on the right is you don't condemn white supremacists. And now the criticism on the left is you don't condemn communists. First of all, those people on the extremes aren't going to vote for the other side anyway, but it's all about turning them out. And I don't know why, you know, I guess.
But isn't it amazing? Like in our lifetime, Bob, we went from duck and cover under our school desks to now normalizing communism as a political school.
I remember reading the Communist Manifesto in college. I do.
First grade, yeah.
Got an A on the paper, by the way, one of the few. And I was saying, actually, when you read it, it's actually pretty good. It's just like, you know, if you work it in theory, the problem is human beings become involved. And so there's no way it works.
No, envy, greed.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Well, also laziness, you know, hey, pull your own weight. And so then enter capitalism. And that's why I believe in capitalism, free enterprise. Having said that, there's some people that are more equal than others, let's say. Let's say the guy in the White House was handed hundreds of millions of dollars, you know, that you and I were not. And the people the Kennedys, you were talking about the Kennedys.
Yeah.
Who knows where RFK Jr. would be if he had been just some guy that grew up in Alabama or something.
Yeah.
So I think there are criticisms of capitalism. There's nothing pure as long as people are involved. But I happen to believe in free enterprise and capitalism because I think it beats any other system. But that, we've come a long way when you welcome people, communists, to the Democratic Party.
Well, we have a big show today, Bob. We actually have two guests on two different stories.
Yeah.
I don't know if my little laptop here can handle all the energy coming through here.
Well, we can get to that. We're waiting on a guest to log in, whom we will bring up presently. I did want to point out something. I don't know if it gets your attention, Jerry, but what has happened with the reflecting pool, how Janine Pirro has dropped cases. And I knew what would happen. I knew Trump wouldn't be fine with that. And to me, it is a perfect depiction. And by the way, I went down to the reflecting pool shortly after they did all the work on it, at a point where it was starting to turn green again. And then I went a few days down after that, where it was clearly green and they were trying to clean it up. And I have video of it that I've shared with you, and I'll have to share with our folks.
Did you have any sharp instruments on you, Bob?
I did put my hand in the water, and I did see stuff was crumbling. And I thought I better not share that video. I'll get arrested for putting my hand in there. I just wanted to see how clean or dirty it was, and it was pretty
Well,
dirty. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the video this morning. There's
Yeah.
White House surveillance video out looking out at the parking lot.
Yeah.
Jeanine Pirro was seen with a wheelie bag and a box under her arm. I'm not kidding. And it wasn't AI or anything. It was
What was she doing?
It looked like she was cleaning out her desk. But I'm thinking, really?
Oh.
Jeanine Pirro would clean out her own. I didn't even clean out my own desk.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, the lieutenant says he's on if you want to bring him up.
I don't
So
see
we're taking a look at the Nancy.
But you know what? I don't see him. So let me do this as we're talking. I'm going to take
All right. Well, I'll explain the story, but there seems to be a flurry of stories about Nancy Guthrie and her daughter Savannah. There is investigation failures that are said to be shocking and disturbing. Why isn't the FBI involved, even at this late date? It's been 6 months, and this sheriff.
Well, I think because they don't want to get involved in something that they don't know where to go. That's my theory.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think Trump would put his FBI on a case that's, just screwed.
Yeah, if there's nothing, I mean, just because the FBI gets involved, I don't know what power they would have that someone else wouldn't have.
Yeah, but now the sheriff in the case has been hit with a $176 million lawsuit alleging his dangerous incompetence. It does seem like he's a little Fauci-esque here, where he's preening for the cameras and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a heartbreaking case. I hate to cover it as a tabloid. Okay, I think we may have our gentleman here. We're starting to make some progress.
Okay.
And
hey, there you go.
Hey, guys.
Hey, there's the lieutenant.
Randy Sutton, former police lieutenant and founder of the Wounded Blue, which helps officers injured in the line of fire. Randy Sutton, thank you. Randy, I did want to explain to people kind of what's going on, the difficulty with the Nancy Guthrie investigation. We've seen that from the beginning. Now, it's heartbreaking to see what's happened, what Savannah has to go through there, but for the grace of God, go all of us, right? So.
Right.
I'll let Jerry take it after I ask you this question. What's gone wrong here?
Well, what's gone wrong is leadership has gone wrong from the very beginning. At the outset of this investigation, when this report first came in, the leadership of the Pima County Sheriff's Department made some improper choices. First of all, the scene itself was not properly handled. They originally looked at this case as a missing persons case. They originally looked at it as if she perhaps had wandered away, and what should have been very, very evident at the very beginning from the blood evidence and some of the other evidence that was found there, that this was not a walk away. This is not a missing persons walk away. That there was a crime scene here, and that crime scene was not treated in the manner in which a major crime scene should have been treated, to the point where the scene itself, after it was determined that this was, I mean, it was very evident that this was a kidnapping. It wasn't treated as such, and so they even released the scene within a short period of time to be trampled upon by who knows who, including just gawkers who happened to walk up on it. So that was the first part of the screw ups. Then once it's determined that this is an active crime scene, forensics is absolutely essential when it comes down to, a crime of this magnitude. Yeah. They didn't call in the FBI at the appropriate time once they realized that this is a major.
What can the FBI do that local officers can't do?
They have forensic abilities that are quite much more robust than locals do. Also, they have if it was the FBI that worked with the security company that was able to recover the video
Oh
evidence
yeah.
that they did find. Now,
Yeah.
here's where the conjecture plays a role, but it's a very important role, and that is, had the FBI been brought in earlier,
Yeah.
um, is there a possibility that there was other digital evidence that could have been recovered, but it timed out?
Oh.
Right? They were on a they were on a very tight schedule here when it comes down to because there was no account with the security company to keep the footage, right?
Right.
They were
Right.
able to they were able to recover that very devastating, series of video.
Yeah.
Was there more that could have been captured
If
if
they
the
had.
FBI had been called in earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are two of the real major mistakes that were made.
Yeah.
Now,
And now I want to
there,
ask you, Randy,
yeah,
the sheriff himself now has been hit with a nearly $200 million lawsuit alleging dangerous incompetence.
well, it's going to be interesting to see how a lawsuit like that plays out. That's not a normal way to handle situations. I mean, he was also um, uh, the subject of a recall vote. There was an effort to recall him. There was also an effort, or there was at least some movement made by the county commission to remove him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That fell flat. I don't know. I haven't heard much about the recall effort. Once the flash dies, sometimes the efforts fall by the wayside. I haven't
Right.
heard much about the recall efforts. Now, he's also being sued and facing charges of election interference.
Oh.
Um, the
Well, Randy, just because we have limited amount of time here, let me ask you this: from
mhm.
your expertise and your experience, what two things would you do right now to deal with this situation?
Well, at this point, the damage has been done. You can't undo the damage that was done at the outset of this investigation. Now you have to pick up the pieces and you have to continue with the investigative process as it is. So I can't say that there would be anything that I would do at this point which would change the trajectory of this investigation. At this,
Randy, why is there such a flurry of articles? I've got like 6 different articles here, all within the past couple of days. Like it seems like
yeah.
someone's trying to jumpstart things.
Well, because we're at an anniversary, we're at a 6 month anniversary.
Oh,
And
yeah.
as soon as that happens, that brings back the action, if you will. And of
Hmm.
course, you'll notice that the sheriff gave what amounted to be a very milk toast type of, hey, we're back, we're on this case, we're going full speed ahead, and the FBI and we love each other. And it's all nonsense. It's not true. Um, the FBI the FBI was investigating this sheriff prior to this investigation before it ever took place.
Mm,
Hmm.
He was under criminal investigation by the FBI.
mm.
Okay.
And in fact, his second in command wound up committing suicide after he
Oh
was
boy,
charged.
the whole thing's a
And
mess. You got to admire his fortitude. Why wouldn't he just throw his hands up in the air and say, "I'm out"?
his ego is never going to allow that.
Okay. Randy, thank you so much for
Mm,
being with us. We appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you.
It's a
Sure,
painful thing for everybody to watch.
it
Um,
is. It
and
is.
it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter if you're an NBC fan, you watch this poor Savannah Guthrie, and with all the questions that we have, except it's her mother. So
Yeah.
it's devastating. So, Randy, thank you, sir, so much for joining us.
Well, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, thank you.
I,
Great. That was great guy. Very informative.
yeah, very good. And kind of as he says, you're in a situation now. All the mistakes have been made. It's kind of tough to pick it up right now. So
we have
there's
another
no,
guest ahead of us, right?
yeah, we do. And I don't want to make it a clumsy transition, but we are going to bring in another guest. There's a story that we talked about a little yesterday. We thought maybe we should get an expert on to talk about this. And that is, I have followed this story a little bit because I'm intrigued a little bit by the WNBA. And this girl, Sophie Cunningham, has
Yeah.
been going through a lot. First of all, she's known as the one who pointed because she got called on a foul. She said,
Yeah.
well, she should get a foul on her too. And the girl said, don't point at me. And so she kept pointing. And she protects Caitlin Clark, who came into the league as the star, but faced a lot of resentment from the other girls. And as a consequence now, there are a lot of fouls that seem to be called or not called, depending on if you're for or against Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark getting the short end of the stick in a lot of this.
Yeah.
Now, this expands, and we're about to bring in our guest to talk about the other element of this with Sophie Cunningham, and that is she has come out and criticized the idea of having trans men, the biological men, play in women's sports. And just for the record, close to 80% of Americans, and this according to a New York Times poll, oppose men competing in women's sports. Okay, so she's kind of saying the common sense thing, but oh my goodness, the WNBA has gone crazy. And there was a coach in Minnesota who wore something about trans kids are welcome or something like that while she was coaching on the sidelines against Sophie Cunningham. Every time Sophie Cunningham got the ball, people were booing. And I wanted to show you, let's see if I could do this. It's going to be the first time I try to play video here. But watch this play, Jerry. This is...
Yeah, right there. I think that's just a common foul.
Yeah. That was an elbow to the face.
And that's purposeful. I play basketball. So I know you can hurt somebody. You send a message by doing that. And Sophie Cunningham was called for a foul. That's where we are in this league. So we thought we'd bring in a good friend of yours, Jerry.
George? Hey, George.
Here we go again.
George is a former sports guy in New York City, Channel 5, Channel 9. George Falkowski, he is a media teacher and, of course, the former anchor as we spoke. I hope you were able to see what we were just talking about with Sophie Cunningham, because give me your snapshot on where we are with Sophie Cunningham and the WNBA.
Well, Sophie Cunningham, Jerry knows I'm a big hockey fan too. And in hockey, if you have a prime star, and I'll take you even back to the 80s with Wayne Gretzky, you have to protect your star. So Indiana has Caitlin Clark. She was getting beat up and knocked down and was kicked all over the court. So they brought in Sophie sort of as the enforcer. The difference between Sophie and some of the guys that skated with Gretzky is that Sophie can really play the game. So she's very talented. She's very outgoing. You cannot hold in her personality. If you watch her videos, she's a great follow on Instagram.
She is.
But the great thing is, and I think this is what a lot of people admire, is that she stands up for what she believes. She's not going to take it. And the best part, at least as a viewer, is that she gives it right back. She's not going to take it. She's not going to. Caitlin Clark has been very, very good about. I mean, this year she's getting a little more rambunctious and a little more feisty in yelling back at the referees and standing up. But Sophie, you do something to Sophie, Sophie's gonna exact her a little bit of revenge. She's gonna get right back in your face to take you down. And for a lot of people, that's great. Of course, the bigger issue is the fact that she dared to say that she defends women's sports, which of course immediately becomes she's anti this and anti that, and she's this and she. The name calling starts.
Specific. Let's say she's being portrayed as anti-trans, anti-gay and lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a race element thrown in there because she's white, and so is Caitlin Clark, and probably 70%, that's their number, not mine, of the WNBA identifies as Black African American. And so you have all this tension, and then Caitlin Clark comes in, the star that she was in college. It actually got my interest a little bit. She was so good as a guard that she could shoot from downtown, and she handled the ball well.
Yeah.
She actually is somebody that could play, and she was kind of fun to watch. And so she comes into the league, and all of a sudden they're taking chartered planes. All of a sudden they're not making $75,000, they're making $750,000. The whole world changed. And did she get any thanks the way that Bird and Magic did back for the NBA back in the 80s? No. A lot of the players have gone after her and beat her up. And I got to tell you, George, a lot of times it looks like the refs are on board.
Well, it looks like the whole league is on board, to be honest. And, this is a topic that one of the classes that I teach is called sports communication. And it's not really about communicating. It's about issues. It's about trends. It's about history and sports. And we spend a week on this.
Yeah, right there. I think that's just a common foul.
Made sure that travel is better, that TV ratings are better. And yet she's target number one. And if the WNBA wants to talk about inclusivity, why can't they honestly want to include straight white women? I don't get it. It's
Right.
If it helps everybody, it helps everybody.
Well, also, George, the most important thing here is points on the board. How is the team doing?
Well, I'm not a WNBA follower. I think I'm more of a Sophie and Caitlin follower. So, I mean, they win some, they lose some. Caitlin's a human highlight reel. Sophie has been unbelievable. And it looks like those two are like, Riff and Raff, Heckle and Jekyll together on the Fever, because they really go together and they seem to really like each other. There's a friendship there and a mutual support system. Caitlin is still trying to, walk the middle line, as I guess we all do in our professional lives. Sophie just came out and said, she goes, I didn't say I was anti-trans. I'm pro young girls. I'm pro women's sports.
Exactly.
What's the W in WNBA stand for? And
Right.
I think that's the bigger issue. So people are going to watch because of them. But there's a lot of folks who think that Caitlin may just pack it up, take it to Europe, go play someplace else, and then let's see what happens to the WNBA. But as far as Sophie goes, I think she's phenomenal for the game. She's got people watching. I feel bad for the abuse she's taking, because, you can be pro-women and not be anti-trans, but
That's right.
people in the league don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, they seem to overreact. And Jerry, just to answer your question about them winning, like George says, they win some, they lose some. They're better. They're one of the better teams. But the important thing to the league, every time Caitlin plays, the ratings go up. Every time she plays in an arena, ticket sales go up. And when she's not there, they go down.
Yeah.
And
No, true.
To ignore that, the way I feel about it, if I were her, I would just say she's established herself as an icon. And if I were her, I'd just go get on an ESPN or Turner and go be a commentator instead of getting beat up every night.
Well, I'm not sure ESPN would want her based on the way they
well,
progress.
Yeah, there's that.
I do want to remind the viewers to go below to the comments and please remind us how inappropriate it is for three white guys to sit around talking about women's basketball. Because I wouldn't know any better.
I have a daughter that played women's hockey. Does that count? I mean, is that okay? Does that help us?
Yeah, I
With
guess
hockey?
so.
Hockey might be the wrong
Well,
sport.
grandfather and your daughter there.
And I have a couple daughters who did play volleyball as they were growing up. They decided not to play in college. And I thought it was great experience because it taught them how to win, how to lose, how to play with teammates, how to work hard to get results, how to deal with difficult bosses, otherwise known as coaches.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think all of that is good. But I do remember at a certain point, there were some boys, because boys don't get as much volleyball. There aren't as many leagues. And so they had a boy who was middle school who came to play with them. But even the mother said, okay, you have to hit it when you serve. It has to be underhand and you cannot slam on the.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there is a difference physically, and as you get older, I think I observed as a father of girls, there is a difference. So
Okay.
My daughter played co-ed hockey till she was 12, 13, in a town league. Our town, and we get into Title IX some other day, but because the high school couldn't afford 2 new teams, they didn't have a varsity hockey team, so she played like a local club. And then around 12, 13, you could see the divide starting. Physically, strength-wise, all kinds of stuff like that.
You better watch yourself, George. Watch it. You're on the
Well,
thin
we
line
moved.
here.
Katie finally
see
moved
nothing,
to
you
a.
hear nothing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I hear nothing. We got Katie to move into a girls travel team, and the competition was great. There were some great athletes. There were some kids that were just kind of stumbling and trying to find their way in hockey. But I think as a girl dad, I support girl sports. I think they should have a fair platform to play on, and that's what Title IX is all about, right? Equality of opportunity, equality of funding. And now we have people that are trying to force biological males into that window, and really, you hate to say the word common sense because people freak out, but it doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? Why would you put your daughter up against the biological male? You're asking for trouble.
Yeah, the coach of Minnesota would argue, we don't have a problem with trans in the locker room, and we don't want to alienate any kids who are growing up and may be trans. So that's part of the argument. But
did you hear what George just said? He said people hear the words common sense and they freak out.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. But thanks for bringing us up to this conversation. 3 old white guys talking about young women playing football.
Thank you, George.
I think we're groundbreakers here, fellas, and I'm proud to be part of this.
Yeah, it's never been done before.
No.
Except places like ESPN and Turner. And okay. Right. George, thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
All right. What do you think?
Good show.
How about the director here? I was able to pull that off.
I know, you did very well.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to leave our viewers with the final thought.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't fuck with the Kennedys. And why do you bleep me?
I don't think we should be dropping the F-bomb. You don't want me to. I was concerned that it's funny because I was loading that up, and at a certain point they ask, is this film explicit? I wasn't sure how to answer it. Because,
well, have you ever been in a newsroom, Bob?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's quite different. In fact, the first time I ever went into a newsroom and everybody's yelling and I'm thinking, I like this. I don't like corporate offices. I like that. And the first time I went into a control room, Jerry, and the director, there was this girl. I won't say where it was because I don't want to reveal her, but she was the director and she's making calls. And something goes wrong, she jumps, and then she gets back down and she starts making the calls. And I thought, I like this.
The one I knew that I was in Oz when I went into this one newsroom, and the one grizzled old veteran producer walked over to a desk and grabbed his little carton of milk that he was always with, and he puts it to his head and he chugs. And he spits it out and he goes, "This is fucking milk." Because he put vodka in it every day and someone switched it out on him.
All right, Jared. Take care.
Okay. Bye, Bob.
Bye.